You can't just dump red wigglers in your garden. If you don't furnish a damp habitat for them, they're gonna die or they're gonna leave. So you need these towers.
Welcome back to Pawpaw, Sammy, and Allybug's YouTube channel.
I've been plagued with questions about putting your red wigglers in your garden directly. It can be done, but you gotta be careful. Red wigglers are compost worms. They are not dirt worms. You need about 4 or 5 inches of compost and plenty of water. We're gonna try to set it up today and show you how to do it. Lazy Worm's consistent message is about recycling and gardening. Today we will recycle or convert 3 items into our worm towers. 4-inch PVC pipe, a 5-gallon bucket, and an old barrel we had laying around the house.
Hi, I'm one of his other granddaughters, Savannah. Another kind of worm bin that you can have is worms in your garden. You place these towers in there so that you can feed them through the tubes, and they'll come back and stay in the garden because they have a food source.
Yeah, you have the holes in the pipe, and you take your post hole digger and just pop your hole in the ground. You can do it with a shovel or the post hole digger, entirely whichever way you want to do it. The reason you want to keep red wigglers in your bed, it improves the soil, keeps it loose, puts microbes and nutrients back into the soil. The vermicompost is loaded with plant hormones. It will increase your growth dramatically. Get it down in there good and firm. Alright, now pull that back. Pack your dirt around it. Pack your compost around it. Lay it over it. Put your compost on top. You got a good place for the worms to live. The compost underneath this and on top of this. Alright, you put your food in there and your worms in there and keep it damp. They'll use these holes to migrate and find their comfort zone. That can be done in a small container or a small garden. I am putting paper shreds, mixtures and leaves and straw down in the bin. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and put a few eggshells in there because they have a gizzard. They need eggshells to digest their food. A little potato peelings on top of it. Then you come back and put a covering where they'll be dark and feel safe. Now, you never ever bury worms. You put them on top, they find their own comfort level. I didn't show the worms. Here's some of them. Whoa, I'm losing them. Now these worms will go down in the hole, get under the compost, eat. If they get wet, they move out. If it gets dry, they move back. Keep that wet. They'll come back and eat and go back out. Come back and eat and go back out. And what you're doing is you actually starting a worm bed right here. Red wigglers are not a dirt worm. They're a compost worm. They will die if they get dry. So you take a bucket, cut the bottom off, drill holes in it, bury it in the ground about yay deep with a lid. You throw your compost and food scraps in it with your red wigglers. Just drop them on top. They'll find their own way. Keep it wet. And they'll migrate out, around, and come back. They'll find their own level of comfort. All right.
So is that a worm tower too?
Yes, this is a worm tower. I've got the holes drilled. It's an old barrel I had. You just keep throwing your food in the center and keep water in the center. It brings everything, the roots to the center. The nutrients in the barrel is coming to the plants, and the worms will survive. Otherwise, you put them in your garden, they're gonna die. You lay them on dirt in your garden and they'll be dead the next day.
Or they'll go away.
Or they'll go away. They'll try to find a place where they can get comfortable. Okay. But I want them worms to go deep. So I need to soak it down good. But you take the water down in there and wet the dry pine straw I put in there. And then those worms will go on down. They'll go down, find their own level spot where they want to be, and that's the end of it. They will start breeding and multiplying right here. If you set your towers up right, like the one I spoke about right there, it's a multi-purpose system. The bigger your bed, the more you need, of course. You might need 3 or 4 this side, maybe 2 that side, maybe 5 this side. It don't matter. It's a multi-purpose. You got a worm bed, you're developing your worms in vermicompost, and you deep water. You're getting down underneath the mulch. The whole world says fun facts. In Cajun, Louisiana, it's Lagniappe, a little bit more. Red wigglers are about 1,000 worms per pound. They'll eat about 1/2 of their body weight per day under ideal conditions. So if you got 30 worms in a worm bin, don't feed them 5 pounds of food to do the math. Now, don't worry about not feeding them enough, because they will eat the bedding, and they're supposed to. They turn the bedding and the food scraps into compost. As long as you keep 3 or 4, 5, 6 inches of bedding above your worm poop, your worms are safe. If it gets down to where you open your bed up and see a lot of black worm poop, your worms are living in the poop. They're not producing anymore. They're just going through the same material over and over, and they'll eventually die out. Thank you for watching the videos on how to make worm towers. And like, subscribe, and comment on Pawpaw, Sammy, and the Alley Bugs channel. Thank you.